The mimic system is clever, but it is not alive. It cannot create. It can only copy, distort, and recycle. That's the first truth to remember. It offers what looks like nourishment, but when you touch it, it dissolves into ash. You've felt this before. The pressure that leans on your chest when you are about to remember something real. The sudden doubt that slips into your mind right as your clarity sharpens. The soft whisper that promises ease if you just stay small. The mimic doesn't come screaming. It comes subtle, disguised as safety. It says, "Stay here, and you won't have to stretch into your true form. Hand me your sovereignty, and I'll hand you comfort, belonging, ease." But that ease is counterfeit. That belonging is false. It is sugar for the soul, sweet in the moment, but it burns out quickly, leaving you emptier than before. And you know this, because every time you've reached for it, you've felt the hollowness on the other side. We have all sat at its table, some of us knowingly, many of us unconsciously. It's built into the systems around us, the algorithm that gives you outrage on repeat, the spiritual bypass that offers eternal bliss without integration, the political noise that promises protection but feeds fear. All of it is the mimic in different clothing, serving from the same kitchen. And if you listen deeply, womb deep, marrow deep, you will feel it in your bones. This is not real food. This is not what the soul came here for. Your body knows the difference. The mimic tightens, it contracts, it drains. The real expands, nourishes, and steadies. So here is the ground we stand on. The mimic is clever, but not sovereign. It can pressure, it can tempt, it can deceive, but it cannot breathe life. And once you've tasted truth, no counterfeit will ever satisfy again. The feast the mimic lays out looks endless. A dazzling spread designed to keep you seated at its table. Dishes piled high with distraction, entertainment, outrage loops, and cheap spiritual highs. It's the algorithm that delivers another hit of indignation the moment you start to center yourself. It's the bypass that sells you bliss without shadow work, or the promise of instant enlightenment without embodiment. Even the politics and media join in. Different faces, same kitchen, cooking up control. At first, it can feel like satisfaction. You eat and it fills something, temporarily. The mimic counts on that rush, that first bite of sweetness, to make you forget the cost. But this is sugar for the soul, hollow calories that burn quick and leave your field depleted. Beneath the glittering plates lies something darker, siphoning. Every bite you take feeds not you, but the system itself. Every scroll, every outrage cycle, every quick-fix spirituality drains your life force and redirects it back into the mimic. That is why so many are exhausted, fractured, scattered. They mistake mimic meals for soul nourishment. And the mimic thrives on that confusion. It wants you too busy digesting poison to notice your true hunger. The hunger for what is real, steady, eternal. That's the trap. You think you're feeding yourself, but you are the one being consumed. Here's the truth about the mimic's banquet. The feast never satisfies. After the rush comes the emptiness. After the indulgence comes the fatigue. What seemed filling in the moment leaves a hollow ache, a static that lingers in your field. It's like eating food that looks beautiful on the plate but rots in your gut. The mimic relies on that cycle: intoxicate, then drain, then pull you back for more. And yet, something remarkable is happening. People everywhere are beginning to notice the aftertaste. They're waking up not because the feast was convincing, but because the residue is unbearable. You've felt this too: the headache after too much screen time, the dissonance after consuming another thread of outrage, the emptiness after buying into promises of easy enlightenment. The mimic has overplayed its hand. It has flooded the table so heavily with noise, distraction, and empty calories that the silence beyond it has become precious again. The stillness is what the soul craves. The body itself sighs in relief when you push the plate away and step into quiet. That moment of clarity, that breath where your cells expand instead of contract, is the breaking point. It's the recognition that this does not fill me anymore. That is not weakness. That is remembrance. The mimic cannot cover that over forever. The emptiness it leaves behind is now awakening more people than its feast ever seduced. So what do we do when the mimic lays its feast before us? We stop eating. We push the plate away. The first act of rebellion is refusal. Every no you embody weakens the grip of the system. When enough of us do that, the table itself begins to collapse, because it cannot sustain without our participation. Sovereignty isn't about fighting the mimic head-on. That just keeps us locked in its game, still seated at its banquet. Sovereignty is walking away. It's choosing not to negotiate with false altars. It's tending the sacred fire within, even when the mimic calls you back with promises of safety and belonging. Each embodied refusal is an act of power, hydrating the fascia, breathing fully, reclaiming your attention. These are not small things. They are hammer strikes against the false table, and the sound of those strikes is growing louder. The mimic knows its days are numbered because its food source is remembering itself. When we choose earth over algorithm, breath over noise, truth over distraction, we reclaim what was stolen. The banquet rots, the false altar crumbles, and the sacred fire lights our way forward. That is how the table breaks, not in war, but in remembrance. So hear this clearly. You were not born to feed the mimic system. You were not born to stay small, comfortable, or safe in its cage. You came here to remember. Every act of remembrance is a reclamation, a fragment of what was stolen returning to your field. And when you choose what is real, even in the smallest moment, you strengthen the current of truth that cannot be stopped. The mimic will keep calling. It will offer new disguises, sweeter promises, easier paths. It will try to convince you that comfort is worth the cost of sovereignty. But your soul already knows the difference. Once you've tasted the authentic, you can never again be satisfied with the counterfeit. This is the moment of reckoning. You are not alone in it. Countless others are waking with you, refusing the feast, breaking the table, reclaiming the flame. Together we are writing a new story, one refusal and one remembrance at a time. So we seal this here. I choose what is real. I choose what is eternal. I choose to live from remembrance, not from mimicry. And as I choose, I strengthen the signal for others to choose too. The false altars crumble. The sacred fire endures. The mimic fades. And the soul stands sovereign.